Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperialdane, featuring today a 1 versus 1 on Kholodny Ferma. Yes, indeed, it's going to be a 1 versus 1 in the snow. We shall be watching Duga owns you, apparently, fighting for the Russian, taking on the fight for the 52nd Rifle Division. Going up against him shall be that fiend Imperialdane, fighting for the Wehrmacht. Fighting for the, I don't know, let's just casually say 302nd Infantrie Division. Starting out with the ever stalwart Grenadiers, Pioneers leading out, and again, yes, many of my games going up, but again, a bit lacking in replays, that sort of more, not Monday novice fight at the moment. And in those cases, I tend to try and draw a bit upon my own replays for those occasions. So again, my apologies if you're expecting something different. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy the show. There'll still be lots of, tactical analysis, strategic analysis, historical background, and all that such. We are seeing a bit of a spread here going on from the Soviets. Same here, going for both sides for the nations first. Always tends to pretty much pay off there on Kholodny Ferma. Second conscript scored out. Second Grenadiers scored out. Grenadiers heading down there. Pioneers heading up there. Second Grenadier Squad will take up positions towards the center. Conscripts leading a bit ahead, though, in terms of taking territory. So are the combat engineers. And over there we do see the northern fuel point being secured by a squad of plucky conscripts trying to stay warm. It is so cold out here, comrade. Combat engineers moving down, and they'll soon be getting a bit of a surprise there, though my pioneers up north will do the same. And we do see here some slightly clever maneuvering about, sneaking up behind the wooden church, and there we go, getting up behind cover. All the Grenadiers themselves are also in cover, and we do see the Grenadiers in fact pulling back into the wooden church. And in this case, there will be 3 windows to shoot out from against the fascists. Second conscript squad perhaps getting ready in MG42. Ready to move in for the fatherland. In the meanwhile, down south, the combat engineers are getting a bit of a nasty surprise they had not expected as the Grenadiers take them up and into the fight. And meanwhile, Pioneers up here continue to have a nice day in the snow. MG42 spots what's going on here again, fog of war and true sight really paying off. In this case, he was very, very close to pulling actually up behind here, getting into the house and occupying a position towards my infantry. So very nice and lovely there. Very nice and lovely there. Although the MG42 was barely able to stop it, getting down Fedorov, allowing the MG42 crew to then occupy the building, having a slightly more defensible position. Although we do see another conscript squad sneaking in from the south. MG42 here could be upgraded for the Grenadiers, significantly increasing their firepower, offense and defense, although mind you, they won't be so maneuverable with it. So again, you sort of have to move about more cleverly, maneuver about a bit more cleverly. But again, good use of the MG42 can make quite a difference. And there we go, conscript squad moving in. Another Grenadier squad right there to bar the way. Still no MG42 upgrading. The conscripts look like they are making a rush for the MG42 in the building, although they are a bit out in the open. There we go, Molotov getting thrown through one of the windows. And then we go, several conscripts already going down, MG42 down, MG being upgraded for the Grenadiers, but a bit too late there, a bit sloppy by me. Conscripts here coming on to fight down to 4 men, and there we go, the MG42 opening up, the conscripts making a rush for the building, and the Grenadiers move about. Bit of a shame. South though falling, and note again the Pioneers unimpeded up here, and actually taking a bit of territory up here in the north, in fact creating a nice little noose to which constrict the fuel point. Conscripts here, every 4 men able to fire from that window, though they are a bit slow on health and could very easily go down quickly. Grenadiers continue to hold up here against the conscripts in the house. Again, units in buildings in Company Heroes 2 are much, much tougher, whereas in Company Heroes 1, it was a bit more death trap here. Good use of a building can really, add in some power for you. So in this case, conscript squad run off. Granatenwerfer also setting up. 3 Grenadiers, MG and mortar, a nice little platoon-sized force here with its own little complement of heavier weapons. Pioneers up here running into some issues as conscripts move in, trying to take the fuel but not securing it in the meanwhile. The Grenadiers pushing up all at the same time. Nicely done here by Duga, who actually managed to secure this territory, or at least rendered neutral, meaning I don't get anything out of the southern territories. Conscript squad going to deal with the Grenadiers down there. Up north, Grenadiers moving in to push away the conscripts. At least support the pioneers, and there we go. MG soon as it up, and there we go. Conscripts quickly dropping under intense machine gun fire, and we could see a conscript squad going down, and he did lose it. Mortar fire going in towards the church. The wooden Orthodox church getting blasted with the Granatenwerfer. And the Grenadiers here got a nice Molotov. The Molotov, again, really devastating weapon if you're not paying attention. It's sort of following that rule of attention. If you're paying attention, it can usually dodge, and also, again, be careful, it's also harmful to your own troops. Fun little fact there, fire hurts. But they never taught me that in boot camp, Comrade Dane. I'm not Comrade. I'm Kameraden. Anyways, wooden church here getting absolutely blasted. The conscripts are still holding out nicely again, even against mortars. Buildings do provide some protection. It's usually against fire or any sort of more specifically building clearance weapon. So again, good usage of buildings can really make a difference, even in one squad of infantry. And that, I suppose, is actually quite realistic and more historical. Can actually hold up a larger enemy force if used properly and upgraded with the right weapons. I mean, although again, for the Germans, less of a thing, because again, the Soviets can just get a Molotov in. Although in this case, we do see that Duga has actually gotten himself a machine gun, the Maxim machine gun. At the same time, good pressure going up here in the south, taking away some of the territories from the fascists, while the north is now also getting a bit pressured. And we do see a bit of taking up here. They like to make a nice company. MG setting up, mortar pushing up a bit further. Grenadiers preparing for a counter-attack down south. And there we go, the forced mortar round falls down, wrecking the fence in front of the church. Grenadiers pushing south, the conscripts quickly retreating in the face of this. Of course, as the Germans, you do have an advantage in pairing up your Grenadiers. And then again, if you can really get one with an MG42, you really got a nice combined arms force. Using either the MG42 to pin them down, or using the MG42 to flank the troops with, you know, getting off some damage either way. Maxim, they're doing its best to hold up the fascists. Flaps seemingly acting up a bit. We get better every day. At the same time, Grenadiers pushing southwards. Rifle grenading, and noting here the dual rifle grenade. An individual rifle grenade is only really good for knocking out snipers, but a pair of them can actually do surprisingly large amount of damage to a Soviet squad. So be aware of that. The house, in fact, or church, in fact, slowly falling apart. I'd probably offend a few if you called it a house. Anyways, MG forced to pull out since the church is pretty much ready to collapse. Right down the pews and everything, and it is advancing a bit. Mortar now out for Duga. Maxim, though, setting up at a slightly more reworked position. Grenadiers moving up. Might take up position in the church, although they should be careful. But there we go. No such thing as caution in the Wehrmacht. We move forward, Heinz, but the house is ready to collapse. It's a church, Dummkopf. Oh, does it matter? I suppose not. Anyways, Grenadiers here using the church, in fact, to get passage right behind the MG. Pioneers pushing up the centre, they're running into a bit of problems. And then we've got another rifle grenade getting one of the mortar crew, gaining veterans one, pushing up further. The Grenadiers again having success. Again, dual rifle grenading can again do a lot of surprising lot of damage. And again, it only costs you 40 munitions, plus you won't set fire to your own troops. Plus, of course, the rifle grenade does have some considerable range, so if you're having trouble, try double rifle grenade. Double rifle grenade. Sponsored by the Wehrmacht. And there we go, mortar crew went down. A nice push out by a single Grenadier squad with rifle grenades, and an MG42 was able to clear out a mortar in seconds. We do see some conscripts pushing up, but they might have some problems. Even then, note the Grenadiers in this case realize they've had their fun in the snow and decide to pull back. In the meanwhile, conscripts pushing up north. Grenadiers holding up the north. In this case, I'm rather accepting, okay, I'll have to sort of focus somewhere instead of spreading out my Grenadiers too far, thus risking again they get overwhelmed. I sort of try to coordinate a bit better. And there we go, the first Panzer Grenadier squad arriving from some nearby unit to provide support. Also could consider second MG for another Grenadier squad. Conscripts here actually in slightly poor condition. Down to half health. There we go. Panzer is pushing up, appearing out of the snow, and it's time to have a look at Duga. He does use the hit the dirt, so he's actually going guards rifle. Bun grenade does a bit of its job, and Vasily does not make it out of there. And conscripts right down here, getting a bit overwhelmed by the Grenadiers. Well, they do gain veterans who won. Soviet mortar, very close, actually doing some nasty damage right there. Troop reinforcing, pushing into the center again. And the MG42 was actually lost to a Soviet mortar barrage. I was actually not paying attention right there, and that was definitely my own bleeding fault. But nicely done there by my opponent, rather denying me a heavy machine gun. And then again, dual rifle grenading, taking up almost the entire squad, down to 2 men. In fact, also note here, Duga is actually incredibly low on infantry at the moment. He really actually needs to do something about that. And there we go. Again, a pair of grenadiers is a powerful... And in essence, in fact, usually then split up into 2 teams, each a 4-man. One with an MG. If it was Fusiliers that had 2 MGs, if there were Panzer Grenadiers that have 2 MGs. So, fun little fact. And there we go. We do see Duga actually now equipping himself with submachine guns, getting more conscript Nikki, of course, quickly replacing the ones lost. Also note that conscripts do level up a bit faster. And there we go, getting one fascist, and we do see a full retreat as the field gun appears. And I rather, in this case, figure... Oh, right, there's also the Maxim up there. And I realise this is not a good position for my Grenadiers. Panzer Grenadiers continue their work up north. Again, much later war composition this. Some Panzer Grenadier units, though not a lot. I think some units actually were meant to support assault gun brigades. That Sturmgeschossbrigaden might have been equipped like this as well. But otherwise, you know, not really standard Panzer Grenadier equipment. And even then, not all Panzer Grenadiers would have been equipped like that. There'd usually been a squad and a full platoon equipped a bit more with machine guns, sort of like more of a backbone of fire. But there we go. Once more assaulting the mortar squad. Again, doing a nice flank here. Our friend having a bit of trouble holding most of the map. Even keeping it. And I do apologize for the technical difficulties. We do get those sometimes, sadly. Mortar once more cleared out, but too close to the enemy's base actually. I think it would be a closer to get there. And there we go. Panzer's getting caught behind enemy lines. Stopped by that Maxim. And of course the conscript squad with the PPS 841. And there we go. The Grenadier squad flanking the Maxim. Mortar firing 8. Panzerabwehrkanone up. Conscripts making some progress in the north. Now that my Panzer Grenadiers are not there. And a bit of mark targeting going on here from the MG crew. Increasing accuracy. Making the MG and, well, rifle more lethal. And there we go. Rifle grenade does not actually quite kill, but does considerably damage the conscripts. And we do now see again up to 4-man conscript squad. And we also see that he is busy pretty much handing out submachine guns to everyone. In the name of Comrade Stalin, have weapons. And there we go, machine gun absolutely flanked. Nice advance here with the 2 Grenadier squads. MG providing a base of fire. Other ones basically just providing maneuver elements. Field gun though firing away. Mortar nearby again, making this a slightly more dangerous position. There we go. Quick mortar close to wiping out the Grenadier squad, forcing them away. And there we go, and hitting the dirt once more, making his conscripts much harder to hit for my Grenadiers with their MG. Well, my Grenadiers, of course, have no such fanciful benefits. And we also see a Sturmgeschütz moving forward, ready to provide some support. Grenadiers running into a bit of problems here, getting mortared, and the Stug in this case actually advanced a bit too far. Actually getting anti-tank grenaded. Very reckless of me right there, definitely not good. I was getting a bit too cocky right there, and I got punished for it, though I might still be able to save the Stug, and the Stug right there actually quickly puts a stop to that conscript advance. Send them back. Grenadiers in the nearby church providing a bit of overwatch, and a bit of line of sight ensuring that I don't get snug up on my Stug in the blizzard. Granatenwerfer firing away, and there we go. Note here, nice use of Cruzan actually sneaking in some conscripts. He probably knows there's a gap here, and he goes for it, overwhelming my mortar and my pack, and sneaking in an engineer squad from the south. Really nice work there. Pack quickly gets cleared out. Stug already heavily damaged as the field guns and anti-tank grenades just blast away. Mortar could get lost as well. Grenadiers nearby. Panzer Grenadiers forced in, and we see relief infantry going in from me, quickly scrounging the rear lines for EVs to man the line. Panzer Grenadiers making short work of the quickly recruit Panzerabwehrkanone, forcing that away. Stug firing away. Bit of veterans here being gained by the conscripts, although they should consider getting out of there. They're very low on health. Very low on health. And there we go. Looks like they do barely make it out of there. The rest lining up next to the fire to warm up their fingers. But right there, we do see that the Soviet players are actually been able to gain a lot of the map back. Nice comeback, nice return right here against me. Attacking from several angles, very aggressively, using submachine guns, using other fun things. So in this case, they get a bit too close to the Stug. Stug then having a bit of trouble actually hitting them at the moment, which is less good. And we also see the first squad of Osttruppen arrive. Not exactly the best frontline troops, but they can be used to, for example, quickly recruit stuff. And they're still good for a Panzerfaust with a good shot here and there. And looks like another conscript squad could go down. Oh, will the Blizzard conceal their escape? And looks like it does. Maxim, by the way, once more back in the church. And there we go. Osttruppen crude. Granatenwerfer blasting away. Bit of a nasty position. He's making a slight mistake. He's actually climbing up too close. He's actually making it easier for my Granatenwerfer to actually do some serious damage to his troops. Grenadiers advancing. Stug heavily damaged, pulled further back. Panzer securing the north. Duga blasting away through the center. Panzer Grenadiers pushing back, or push back, as the Osttruppen are quickly reinforced and sent forwards against. And we do see the Osttruppen move out right there, used to recruit weapons and such. They're good. They can even function a bit as combat troops in a limited sense, but mind you, they're not as good as conscripts. On the other hand, they do gain veterancy a lot bloody faster, meaning they can become sort of decent combat troops once they've gained that. But still, be a bit careful. Don't expect Panzer Grenadiers, not even Volksgrenadiers. I think that would be overly optimistic. But again, veterancy 2 machine gun right here, just tearing through the Grenadiers. I do believe veterancy 2. Well, if I could select it, but I can't. Gains some damage bonus. Pack firing away. And I'm pretty much unleashing everything on this church in the hopes of bringing it down upon the ears of the Maxim crew. Conscripts pushing in. Stug getting repair. Panzers moving north. In fact, I have 2 squads of Panzer Grenadiers out now. Also, fun fact, Stug's facts to be provided from several sources. Either assault gun batteries, brigades, or even tank destroyer battalions of the more independent kind, as Stug's even saw employment there. They're not because they were sort of designed as tank destroyers, they just functioned like it. And of course there was also sharp doctrinal difference in how the Germans viewed tank destroyers and assault guns compared to the Allies. For example, again, the Germans rather liked when their things, they had for blowing up infantry could also blow up tanks, and they actually seem to lead to a lot of mistake, because a lot of people think, well, the Allies used tank destroyers only to blow up tanks. Germans must, and that was never quite the case. In fact, the Germans blow up tanks, they tended to think it was a bit rubbish. Just look at the Elephant, which had that specifically in mind. It was considerably less, and that was rather because the Germans rather liked some versatility within their units. They rather liked that it could actually handle several things. That's also, for example, why German panzers tend to do better than tanks against tanks than other, for example, Allied tanks, because again, the Allies, both Russian and American, never really sort of had in mind for tanks dealing with tanks. They rather again had tank destroyers for that. But again, the Germans, favoring versatility, had their tanks capable of dealing with tanks and infantry, just like the tank destroyers could also deal with infantry. It was that much more deeper, versatile thought of mode that basically allowed them to operate a bit deeper out in some senses. The Russians sort of tried to echo that with some of their own assault guns, having them even function as artillery, but never really sort of passed through to, for example, say the Americans. That's actually why some things are slightly different. And also you'd, for example, see something like the heads of which was essentially also an assault gun, basically being redesignated as a tank destroyer. simply because of jurisdictional problems between Guderian and the artillery, but that's a longer story. Anyways, mid-game analysis, and yes, sorry for spending several minutes on that, but again, it's rather an important thing, and it's something I do feel gets a bit missed here and there. But current situation, I'm rather under pressure. I'm doing some damage. I mean, I had a great start, but he's, really applying a lot of infantry pressure, adding in several squads by now. Lots of infantry, lots of submachine guns, rather giving him a, much more aggressive, offensive flavor, giving me definitely some problems over the. Currently, I'm still holding on with most of my infantry. I've even got some Osttruppen to add in some extra numbers, just for the fun of it, though at the same time I'm having trouble, holding up things. The blizzards definitely giving him the advantage, and again, it's because it basically blocks my line of sight, allowing him to get closer with his submachine guns, really begin shooting out some fascistnikis. And again, even with my MG42, that's going to cause me a bit of problem. Plus, good usage of the field gun, machine gun, and mortar has also, caused me some problems. Although, in this case, we do see the MG's been slightly forced left, but again, gets more accurate at veterancy too. And again, the Soviets do veterancy up a bit faster than the German counterparts. So again, something to remember. And for example, this here is about to get close to veterancy 1 as well. So again, some things to consider while playing as the Soviets. And we're also seeing a mechanized armor company here. So we're likely going to see some assault guns, some tank destroyers. That should definitely put some pressure on my Sturmgeschütz, which, by the way, has now been upgraded with an MG. What I need to do, of course, is actually start clearing out some of the squads, clearing out some of the frontage, form some assault parties, because a bit currently my slight problem is I'm just basically, again, slightly piecemealing out, a bit like yesterday with Guru Skippy, sending out units 1 at 1, which is not necessarily always the most effective thing, and in fact can actually cause you some problems if you're not careful. But again, it's also a bit the problem. The Stu quickly got knocked out. But again, forming assault parties, taking some objectives, slightly pushing up, and that way trying to shorten the front lines, taking the vital points, and thus forcing my opponent to get a bit more on the offensive. But having a bit of difficulty at the moment, though with the Osttruppen I should have a slight chance of basically also keeping up the momentum as they can quickly recruit any weapons or just basically add numbers to an assault, which is also something they can do, or for that matter, just hold up the weaker flanks and thus buy me time to, say, mount a counterattack. For Mr. Duga, he actually just needs to keep up the pressure. He also needs to actually apply some more proper pressure on the flanks, including the southern one. He needs to, get some armor, some assault guns, and he also needs to be a bit careful of not feeding too much here into the center, because I've still got a mortar firing away, I've still got a pack, and I've still clearly also holding up the pressure here. And the thing about the Soviets is you want to be careful about going into where the German player is strongest. The German rather tends to favor, strongholds, outposts, that sort of thing. Your trick is numbers, durability, so be careful about going into where he's strongest, because you can find yourself in a bit of a kill zone and end up losing a lot more than you actually afford to lose. So again, things to consider. But let us return to the fight. Panzer goes in again, note, hitting the ground. Panzer goes actually running into a bit of problem as they can't quite do enough damage, and there we go, the Panzer goes actually forced away by a few conscripts getting into the snow. With some submachine guns, and there goes squad on retreat. Stu continues to blast away at the conscripts, not having any chance. Pressure continuing up here. Field gun firing as artillery actually clearing out the pack crew, which is less good. And there we go. Conscripts actually taking the chance to charge in right into the Grenadier squads. Osttruppen pushed away. At the same time, where are the other Osttruppen? I wonder. And the mortar crew in this case actually gets scorched, a bit unfortunately. Apparently the Osttruppen were pushed away by a nice hit from the field gun, gaining veterancy 1 in the name of the motherland. And my Stu is still in a bit of trouble, a bit on its own, getting repaired, taking some time, making another push with relief infantry up, basically again allowing me to absorb some losses without having to cry tears. Allowing me again to sort of keep up the pressure a bit longer and at least have something to then send in after the initial assault. And meanwhile, keeping up fighting here, the machine gun could actually be cleared out by the Grenadiers. The light cover, the craters, in fact, all the craters actually helping my troops in this case. The Maxim crew dies. Going in here against the Stug. Pioneers, I think, were actually killed. No, they managed to get out of there. Osttruppen and a mortar half-track out. The lighter Schützenpanzerwagen, though not entirely sure how that managed to find its way to support the 302nd Grenadier Division. Well, Stu getting some more kills in this case. Finally. Quickly recruiting the Maxim. And there we go, the SU-85 though having hit some sort of fire, sloughing slight engine damage temporarily as the whole thing cooks over. More rifle grenades, and there you go, the Ostrom pushing up center, going to hit the flank of the Maxim. And certainly one can't help but feel they actually end up looking a bit more like Grenadiers than the actual Grenadiers, but there you go. Maxim being pushed away, Ostrom advancing up. There's not really much to stop them as such. I mean, even here, a squad of Ostrom can actually do a lot of damage when there's no infantry to oppose them. They can move up behind the anti-tank gun, shoot at the crew. They could even Panzerfaust the SU-85, leaving that a bit less useful. And there we go. Vasily, fighting for the Germans, Panzerfausted. And continues to find a way in getting one of the anti-tank groups, but again, they're not that strong, so again, you know, be a bit careful. In this case, a quick raid in with the Osttruppen actually ends up doing quite a lot of damage, and they even gain veterans one because, again, Osttruppen don't need a lot before they gain veterancy. They're quick learners. Very quick learners. Pack moving up, but a bit too exposed. Will need to pull back. Mortar half-track a bit at the front. Pack will need to get away, or it will get overwhelmed. And meanwhile, nice push up here. Grenadiers supporting the Panzer Grenadiers. And another squad of Osttruppen making a run up there. Again, great force just taking points, leaving the combat troops for fighting. So, Osttruppen, while again not Grenadiers or Panzer Grenadiers, do have their purposes. And there we go, marking the conscripts, making them slightly easier to target. Although we do imagine they're hitting the dirt. In fact, we can see there, and alternate there, mark target. Enemies have increased accuracy against this squad. And mark target, by the way, can also be used against vehicles for increased accuracy against those. Panzer Grenadiers down south. SU-85 very slowly rolling forwards. Panzer Grenadiers here getting a bit overwhelmed. Another squad digging in. Panzer Grenadiers actually need to be careful. And there we go, quickly retreating. Time to return to Imperialdane. Lost the Grenadier squad, tragically enough. But still, I've actually got more infantry squads than my opponent currently, thanks to relief infantry, although I would definitely not say the Osttruppen are anywhere near equal to the conscripts. Osttruppen are waiting orders? Usually standing in for any sort of Eastern Front volunteer from, well, Eastern Europe supporting, I imagine. Some fought alright, a lot of others did not. In fact, a lot of them were actually sent over to the Normandy front to hold the defences there, to free up German troops being sent over to the Eastern Front. So, fun little fact there. But the Osttruppen flanking again, making a run for the anti-tank gun. 3 kills so far. Doing surprisingly well, although now under fire from the SU-85. Maxim could also be turning against it. Stug finally repaired. And a bit of incendiary rounds going in there from the mortar half-track. Getting another anti-tank gun crew member, and down to 4 men. And veterancy too, getting 6 kills. Some damage. They might want to consider leaving the premises instead of dying in a dirt hole. Stug moving up to support infantry advance. Grenadiers here getting... Oh dear, they got caught by a Molotov, and then the SU-85 cleared them out. Bit too slow there to retreat, I fear. Then again, Molotovs can very quickly finish off troops, so it's a bit tricky, in particular in a blizzard where you can't really see much in that sense. Mortar rounds though going in continually. Grenadiers forced away. Stug doing what they can. Panzer Grenadiers pushing forwards in a full column with more Osttruppen following up. Pushing in, and we do see a minor assault gun coming in there. Field gun ready. Again, 2 men though. Very close, and a nice direct hit on the Panzers. Quickly clears it down to 2 men. Bundle grenade on the troops there. Stug in a bit of trouble. Those troops moving south. Panzer is doing what they can, but the Maxim quickly stops them, making an easier target for the Soviet firepower. Stug advances, but gets a bit too clever. Mortar rounds going in. Second Stug moving in. Needs to be careful though. Needs to be careful. And there we go. Driver injured from a nice hit from the field gun, which actually now gets a damage bonus. And there we go. 2 shots from the field gun actually knocks it down to less than half health, and now a few more hits, and there you go, Stug very quickly going down again. Be very careful about Soviet field guns and HU-85s again. I see a lot of players that complain they're not good enough, but trust me, they are. In particular, you can get some veterans on them, and again, remember, Soviet equipment for the larger part gains veterancy faster than their German counterparts. Osttruppen running straight into the field until quickly losing numerous men right there. And the Osttruppen actually force away the combat engineers down south. Artillery continuing up here in the field, artillery just basically blasting away continually. Mortar half-track doing what it can. Minor fighting up here. Pioneers versus the conscripts. Not looking good, Minor here. And not looking good while the Osttruppen are getting reinforced. And they are quite cheap to reinforce. That is one of the other saving graces. Stug doing what he can. 10 kills all of a sudden very quickly. Panzer Grenadiers leading the assault. HU-85 though coming a bit too close to the Stug. And could in fact get knocked out. And then the Stug fails to penetrate. Veterans won for it. Panzer is clearing out the field gun. The field gun probably should either have been merged with the conscript squad, because again that's a little ability the Soviets do have with the conscript to basically quickly enforce. And in this case, a bold recruiting by the Panzer Grenadiers snaps out the field gun from right under those suits. The HU-85 in the rear. HU-76 begins bombarding the Panzer Grenadiers as they try to turn it about, quickly losing one man. Gets off one hit. Field gun though gets last man, and we do see Heinz completely panicking and running away with bits of Helmut all over him. But continuing to hold on to the northern victory points. Though again quickly regrouping and counter-attacking. And the mortar crew, full of surprise, claims it's been promoted. And again, nice little move here with the conscripts. Apparently some mines. Well, Osttruppen selling north, but again, they're Osttruppen. It's not exactly the hugest loss to lose one. Bit of slight problem with orders sometimes. Sometimes you'll get one unit on order and then another one will apparently pick it up. A bit problematic when suddenly an assault gun moves in where it shouldn't be. But a bit of quiet. Russian player though is definitely not out of the game. Maxim moves up. Conscripts moving in there. Osttruppen and Grenadiers holding there. They're both veterans too. Conscripts quickly hitting the dirt, and we do see a mortar going off against the Grenadiers. Grenadiers might want to leave the fire. I said leave, not burn up. And there go 2 Grenadiers quickly lost. In fact, an entire Grenadier squad was lost because I wasn't quite paying attention. And there we go, all my Grenadier squads are gone. And again, Molotovs actually played quite a part in that. Molotovs, in fact, largely ignore any veterancy bonuses that are gained. Other conscripts floating down south here, but being ignored. And in fact, I have more Russian troops than I have German troops at the moment. Fun fact. Still holding on. Calling in another Stug.
The Sturmgeschütz is ready for use. Enemy forces are securing our territory. Assault gun standing by.
And a full conscript assault going in against the northern Osttruppen. And artillery apparently going in.
Incoming fire. Enemy has only 50 points remaining.
Both assault guns ready.
Our opponents are seizing.
Panzer gun is getting ready. Osttruppen getting ready. They're still considerably low on infantry. And he's making gains. It's getting harder and harder for me to hold territories again as I lose Grenadiers to this and that very quickly. And the only thing again rather mitigating those losses are the relief infantry, allowing me to sort of keep up the offensive in other manners. And rather desperately so.
We are losing a sector.
And a mine, actually, note here, actually, by the later stage of the game, he's actually begun mining very heavily. That's actually quite nice. And should not be underestimated. Again, mines do win games. Panzergrenadiers, but Ostropen here fighting in the north. Molotov going off here against the Panzergrenadiers, quickly clearing out several again. Note how quickly that happened. And they go down to one man, quickly forced off the field. Another H-85 going down to 2 Stooks, although veterans are 2 at the same time also heavily damaged. Conscripts going under fire here, field gun cleared out. Mortar half-tech firing away, Pioneers quick to repair. Ostropen forced away from the north. But all 3 victory points currently in the hands of the Soviet player, quickly recruiting one of the field guns. Fresh tank destroyers moving up. The assault gun still in operational capacity. Conscripts up north there, and Ostropen reinforcing. Panzergrenadiers reinforcing, though again largely my army is becoming more and more composed of Russians in German uniforms. Conscripts here continue getting blasted by the mortar half-tech and the Stug combo. 13 kills on the Stug. And the mortar half-tech finished off the remaining. Stug here and actually getting into problem again. Needing infantry support, and it comes. A full infantry assault going in there. Two squads of Ostropen quickly panzer-fausting the H-85. Stug down again, though they so quickly go down to any dedicated Soviet anti-tank weaponry. Veterans who flee for that conscript squad will soon have to leave. Conscripts sneaking about here. Ostropen, I do keep calling them conscripts. I don't know. But intense fighting going on here towards the central victory point. Mortars going down. Relief infantry once more functioning. Panzergrenadiers, lots of Panzergrenadiers in fact moving north. Stug once more getting repaired. Almost combat ready.
The enemy is taking our territory.
And again pushing up north here from the south with some conscripts. More to recruit there. Getting actually a bit of artillery fire right there. Conscripts holding up the centre, but certainly not by the good graces of Comrade Stalin. Need to get to the fires.
Winter comes the same time every year.
Instead, dying from the cold. Come on, please don't let them die out of the cold. Conscripts pushing up there. Stug providing support. Stug down. Mortar half-tech moving up. Marking the target. There's this field gun, allowing those to be having a chance of hitting it, and they do so. Even the Stug can hit them better. Oh dear, please get them back. Don't let me forget about them. Damn you, Dane. And there we go, finally reacting. Bloody slow about it though. And now 3 squads of Ostropen, that is 18 Ostropen. Panzergrenadiers up here getting overwhelmed by veterans of 3 conscripts. There we go, quick retreat. Quick counter-attack by some Pioneers and Ostropen. Conscripts sneaking in from the south, getting off an anti-tank grenade on the mortar half-tech. Ostropen and Pioneers counter-attacking from the north. Getting another kill. There we go, conscripts on the run. 17 kills on the Stug. Field gun moving up. 10 kills on that one actually, quite nice. And a direct hit on the mortar half-tech with its artillery. But the Ostropen doing what they can up close. More Ostropen rushing in. Ostropen Pioneers making progress in the north. H-85 rolling in. And the Stug also making another move. Overall, though, I mean, Duga right now is actually running into a lot of problems. And again, he was rather too poor in actually pushing the flanks. And he was rather much more trying to push up the centre, which again is not really where the Soviets sort of excel. In particular not with assault guns and tank destroyers. And the times when he did do best was again when he snuck in from here or from here. I mean, when he tried to push up from the centre, of course, he rather encountered serious German resistance. And we do see an airstrike actually being marshalled. Actually, time to go back to Duga. My apologies. And there we go. Strafing actually clears out one squad of us. We've been shredding them on the retreat. Field gun, though, still holding up. For however long that lasted. Quick retreat right here. Half track with a wrecked track. First time I think I've ever seen that, to be honest. Another pack rolling out. Pentagon is following up on the Osttruppen. And there we go, game over. Not really the most exciting match, I'll admit, but rather what I had to make do with. But still, there were some good lessons here. Again, noting again how Grenadiers work better when in pairs. Again, the dual rifle grenade really taking out some damage on the Soviets. Try consider using it like that. If one fails, use more at the same time. Also note rather how the Soviet player, he didn't do well when he just kept attacking from the front. When he did do well was when he actually tried to hit me from the flank, sneaking in behind, occupying buildings, that sort of thing. That really became a problem for me, really gave me a huge headache, cost me heavy losses. Molotovs, quite nasty, always if you know how to use them, and of course if your opponent, like me, several times failed to dodge them or even pay attention. That was very poorly done by me, I will not deny that. But again, no flank attacks. Alright use of the submachine guns. Good use of the, hit the dirt ability. He could also perhaps consider the artillery. But again, his uses of the assault guns and the tank destroyers, again, was perhaps not the most effective gun. It was very much a slow push, which again gave me time and of course allowed me to basically just hold on and do some damage. It's rather where the Wehrmacht excels. Again, he should have been flanking more, trying to break through more at the sides, causing me to draw again forces away from the center eventually and thus opening up. But again, he rather kept the pressure up there, allowing me, forcing me to hold up there, forcing him to hold up the center as well, and of course slowly but surely allowing me to create some combat forces to actually clear out the flanks, which he then could not really stop. Plus of course the early conscripts wipes he actually suffered was not really helpful either. And in that sense another problem was from early on he was way too quick to split up his conscript squads. He did not focus them, he did not support them, and that essentially gave me the advantage right there as well. I mean, some good play, but also some mistakes from both sides. Sad, some losses there with the Grenadiers, though again, partly sometimes there wasn't really much to do. Relief infantry, though, definitely helped me out a bit. Allowed me to survive some of the losses, and again allowed me to basically just send considerably more inexpensive troops out to clear out the flanks while I held up the center. In that sense, again, even if you get some sort of crappy infantry as the Wehrmacht, they can still have uses. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this match, really do. Again, pardon for the technical difficulties right there in the beginning, but I hope you learned something. If you did, want to subscribe, tell your friends. If you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own? Provide some feedback in the comments. Who knows? But this is Imperialdane saying cheers.